Welcome, episode 3, Beers Up, Sports Talk. Sibo in the house, Debo in the house. We're here. We're going to talk about some NFL. We're going to get into some fun stuff about the Celtics. But first, we want to give a shout out to our beers. Debo, what you drinking on?
I got Clarity from Vanished Valley out in Ludlow, Massachusetts. Great curbside pickup this weekend, so beers up.
No doubt. I got the Storm Amber Ale from Newport Craft Brewing in Rhode Island. Little beer of the month club from my sister. A little Christmas present. Can't do wrong with that.
Not at all.
All right, we're gonna kick it off with some NFL as we've done just about every time we've done this. Debo, over the weekend, Roger Goodell threatened the owners. I mean, I say threatened, but it is what it is. Threatened the owners with.
Well, I mean, it definitely seems like a threat. I mean, he said, "Don't talk about it." Like, I don't know. I don't know what you can do if you do.
What do you think?
It seems ridiculous. I mean, I think people should be allowed to express their opinions.
Is it too much to call him Dictator Goodell?
It's probably too much, but I mean, if that's how you feel, you can't stop that.
Yeah, I mean, I said it last time. This guy does whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And this is just another opportunity for him to kind of wave his power in front of everybody. Again, they're moving forward with the draft. There's no pre-draft workouts. It seems like it's kind of a bad move. But here he is. And here's the thing. Like, he knows that people are talking bad about him. He knows that people are upset with this decision that he made. And he's still here telling folks, hey, listen, you can't do this. You can't go out and badmouth the NFL, or I will take action against you. And that, to me, kind of bullshit.
What kind of action could he actually take?
I mean, fines. He's probably going to fine people. I mean, could he take away draft picks? Probably not. But, I mean, again, I don't think that anybody's going to say anything. I think at this point, people are just going to keep their mouths shut because, whatever, they're the only game in town and they're going to keep doing what they want to do. And even if somebody were to come up and say, we don't want to do this, my guess is that Goodell's going to do it anyway. So right. It is what it is.
Well, weren't there were, I thought they said a handful of owners that didn't want to do the draft still. So.
Oh, I don't doubt it. There's no chance for them to have anything else than a phone interview with people. Watch tape and have a phone interview. That's it. You're asking a lot in a situation where every year these teams get to do interviews, they get to do workouts, they get to bring these folks in for private workouts, and now all of a sudden you've got none of that. And so I'm sure they're pretty disappointed in the way this is being handled. But at the end of the day, Goodell gets to do what he wants. In terms of NFL free agency, not a whole lot going on. The Bills
are making
minor moves.
Yep.
What do Packers do, man?
Packers signed Tyler Ervin. We got him in the for the 13th game last year. So I like it. It's 1 year. It's a little over $1 million. Packers punt return game had -8 yards after 12 games. -8 yards. Do you know how far that is? The opposite direction.
Yeah, that's not great.
So the 4 games he was their punt returner, he got 106 return yards. How does that work? It's not like the blocking changed, the scheme didn't change. It's got to be the player, right? Yeah. They haven't had a return game in a while. Even if I remember correctly, he was about 27 yards on his kick return average. So I think it's positive. He also put up some okay numbers as the third running back in the playoffs. So he's a good third running back and a good returner. Good person to have in case of emergency.
And they also lost Geronimo Allison, right? I mean, he was a free agent, but he has signed with the Lions. How do you feel about that?
I mean, they're taking a chance. 1 year, $900,000 veterans minimum.
I know, that's kind of sad, right? This was a guy that was a pretty big part of the offense a couple of years ago, no?
A couple of years ago, and I think everyone expected him to have a big breakout this year.
Yeah.
Or this past season. And he a lot of big drops, couple big fumbles, and now he's on Detroit.
Well, and I mean, that's the thing I feel like now in the NFL is that you can have a big name, you can have a number 2, but I mean, once you go beyond that, you're literally just, throwing guys out there to see who sticks. Because again, with all the throwing that's happening in the NFL these days, you got to catch the ball. And if you're going to have a couple of drops here, a couple of drops there, you're going to find yourself on the bench.
I mean, I think he'll be fine with Detroit. They've got Galladay. They got, was it Jones, right? Marvin Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll be their third receiver.
Yeah.
And then they have TJ Hawkinson still. So he might even be the 4th option.
Right. Right.
So I think he'll be okay. If he has not a lot of pressure on him, I think he's fine. But once he had to step up and become a two or the second leading receiver,
Yeah.
he struggled.
Yeah, no doubt. The Bills signed DJ Gaines, cornerback. This is like the third time they've signed him.
Why are they signing him for such short stints?
He hasn't really played for them. So he's either been injured or just kind of messing around, messing up. He hasn't really been able to play for them. I believe they traded for him a couple of years ago. They re-signed him last year. He couldn't get healthy. So literally they're just re-signing a guy that they've been trying to keep on the field for the last couple of years, and he just hasn't been able to get out there. He's 28 years old. He was a good player, I think, for the Rams before they picked him up. And my feeling is if he can stay healthy, he's going to have a chance to be their third cornerback.
Okay.
It's going to be him and Josh Norman trying to figure it out. I mean, Norman's kind of the over-the-hill guy. Gaines is the injury guy. Whichever one can stay on the field, most is probably going to get the spot. Really exciting, huh?
Way to look at it.
I mean, that's the truth. I mean, the reality is these are two guys that they like, but they both come with baggage, and so we'll see what happens. Okay, on to a new segment we're going to do. Today we're going to do top 5 favorite personal Celtics of all time. Both Dee and I are pretty big Celtics fans at this point in our lives, and so we wanted to do something a little bit different and give you guys something to talk about. So we're going to do our top 5, our personal top 5. This isn't the best 5 Celtics of all time. We're not going Havlicek. We're not going old guys, though I might have one thrown in. Who knows? We'll see what happens. This is our personal top 5. You guys tell us what you think.
And I just want to throw it out there. Yeah, I'm going to throw it out there that, I wasn't a big Celtics fan at all in the late 80s, the early 90s, even to the mid 90s. I was Pacers. I loved Reggie Miller. So most of my picks are going to be from the late 90s on. So
okay.
You're not going to hear Birds.
Respect that. I mean, I can respect that. I mean, it's a clown move, but I can respect it.
Hey, Clown Allen.
All right, hit me with number 5. Who you got?
I have Antoine Walker at my number 5. I don't know. I mean, the guy played hard every time. Did he shoot a ton of shots? Sure.
Yeah.
But every 3 he made, he shimmied. You know me, that's a little cocky. That's what I like.
Yeah.
So
he couldn't keep himself in shape, could he, though?
No, he could not. I mean, he probably ate as many donuts as he took threes. So
no, but you know what I will say, and he didn't find his way onto my list, but he's a guy that brought a little excitement back to Boston in a time when they were absolutely struggling.
Yeah.
So I respect that. Number 5 for me.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum.
Okay.
I love this young guy. He's a Duke guy, so I already love him off the jump. And his game is just blowing up right now. I do worry that he's a little like they're praising him a little too much, but this guy seems to be the real deal. Absolute steal by Danny Ainge, trading that number 1 pick and still getting this guy at number 3. He's absolutely amazing to watch. He's getting better and better, and he just sticks in at number 5 for me.
Well, the good news is we can continue talking about him because he's my number 4. So who did do you remember who was drafted 1 and 2 that year?
Markelle Fultz. Fultz was number 1.
Okay.
And he was the guy that everybody thought the Celtics were going to take.
Yep. Oh,
and number 2 was Lonzo Ball.
Okay.
And that was the thing about that draft was Fultz was the guy that had like the crazy workouts. He was just balling up there at Washington, and everybody was like so high on him. And there was just kind of this like, Tatum's there at the 3rd pick, like he's like the 3rd guy. And I think Ainge was just on him from the jump and knew that the 76ers were all about Fultz. He knew he had that number 1 pick to trade. And it just made a lot of sense for him.
Yeah, no, what I really like about him is he's their number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But if he sees that Jalen or Kemba are on, he's not afraid to let them shine.
Right.
So he knows, yes, I'm number 1, but I'm not going to just try to win this game by myself. I'm going to ride everyone else that's working.
Right. But he's that guy that in a year or 2 could be absolutely just owning the league. I mean, that's my biggest hope is that he stays. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? I mean, it seems like he would stay, but who knows?
I mean, if they can keep a good core of him and Jalen together, I think they got a shot.
Yeah. Speaking of Jalen, number 4,
Ooh.
Jaylen Brown.
You have Jalen higher than Tatum,
I
huh?
do. I dig Jalen. I love how stoic he is. I love how he's improved every year. I love how he's kind of the consummate team player. But I just love that he plays defense. Like, he plays defense hard. He plays just as hard on the defensive end as he does on the offensive end. He's still a young guy, but he's super smart. He sees the floor well. I just love the way he plays. I love Tatum, but I just love the way that Jalen plays. He's so aggressive on the offensive end. He knows when it's his time to go get it. He's not afraid to take big shots. But I love the way that he's always hustling on defense. He's willing to man some people up. He's the guy that's going to draw probably the toughest defensive matchup other than Smart most of the time, just because of his height, his physicality, and all that stuff. Right now, I like him better, but I think that's because I've been watching him for a year longer than I've been watching Tatum, and I just like the way that he has this all-around game. Tatum is a baller, but he oftentimes doesn't play a whole lot of defense, and a lot of times can get frustrated when he's not getting calls.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, other than that, he's a baller, but I love that Brown seems to just be consistent. He's stoic. He never really seems to kind of change his emotion except when he's dunking on LeBron.
So my number 3, this was actually there was 2 guys, and it came down to, well, the 2 were either Kevin Garnett or Ray Allen. And the reason I went with Kevin Garnett at the number 3 is Ray Allen left and went to the Heat.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
If Ray Allen didn't do that, I would have done Ray Allen, because I loved watching him with Milwaukee. I love watching him with Seattle. Shoots threes. That's what I do. I mean, that's my thing. But Kevin Garnett, heart and soul. I know Paul Pierce was there the whole time, but when KG came in, the whole aura of the team changed. Came like warrior mode. It was, let's fight for everything.
Yeah.
And, he brought that championship to Boston.
I can't agree more. I do love Ray Allen. That guy's got the sweetest shot in the world. But, like, God damn it, you don't go to the Heat after the Celtics. Like, don't do that to us. Don't go play with LeBron. Like, that's some bullshit.
Because then he goes and hits that shot.
I know. I was just watching it before this. Damn it. But I'm gonna match you. Number 3 for me. Now, I had 2 guys.
Yeah.
And I just kept with 2 guys. And I did a little Kevin Garnett / Bill Russell.
Okay.
And I'll say this, and it's kind of the same thing, like two big guys who defined the Celtics when they played. I mean, obviously Bill Russell's known for winning all those championships, being, an incredible defensive player, incredible rebounder, could absolutely score the ball, just absolutely dominated that period of basketball. And then kind of the same thing with Garnett. Like you said, when he shows up to the Celtics, he becomes the heart and soul of that team. Defensively, he leads that team. Offensively, he's an absolute stunner. And he's kind of that emotion that they needed to get them kind of skill-wise. They were already there, but now all of a sudden you got this guy that's just taking you to another level. And I don't think it can be understated how big of an impact a veteran like that probably had on people like Rajon Rondo. Who was a young guy at the time that they gave the ball to and said, listen, you're going to bring the ball up the court every time for us. To have someone like Garnett leading that guy is a huge thing. But Garnett's amazing. He's incredible. If he doesn't get injured that next year or the year after, they might have 2 titles with him. But, yeah, it's just – I mean, the fact that they retired his number is just a testament to how big of a role he played in Boston, even though he wasn't there that long. All right, D, what you got for number 2?
I got the truth, Paul Pierce. This guy stayed with a team where he went out in his team's town, got stabbed a bunch of times.
True.
And stayed there. If I was a free agent after that, I would have been gone. But I think he knew, this is my team. He knew it's his team. He did it. He stayed almost his whole career, and he only got traded away. He didn't, It was good for the Celtics for it because they got a lot of draft picks. But he wanted to stay as long as possible. Yeah. And I appreciate that, especially nowadays, man, when LeBron has gone to 4 different teams. Mm-hmm. Kyrie has wanted to go to different teams. It's Durant.
Right.
It's the time of super teams. And yes, the Celtics were probably the first team to do that with Allen and Garnett and Pierce, but Pierce made people come to him, and just because that's how great he was. I mean,
yeah, he's incredible.
He worked on that foul line elbow shot, and it's just like if he got there and got the shot off, it was in, and it was nothing special about him. He was just he looked like he was in slow motion, stuck in mud, but he just so smooth. I loved it. I really did.
I literally got into a K-hole the other day where I was watching him put up like 40 when he was like in his like first or second year. It was incredible. Yeah. All right, number 2, I got Larry Bird. Larry Legend, 3-time champ, 3-time MVP, 9-time first team All-NBA, and surprisingly, 3-time All-Defensive second team, which I know he played a little bit defense, but that was still pretty surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, I didn't get to watch Larry in his prime. Most of what I've watched is on highlights, but I can't put a Celtic list together without talking about Larry Bird. Like, I mean, he's the guy that in my lifetime is kind of Celtics basketball, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He is an incredible player, incredible shit talker, absolutely can ball out. And like the craziest thing is that, I mean, he didn't go to college right away. Like he went back home. He didn't like what was happening at Indiana. Went back home, was like working on the farm, messing around, and then was like, all right, let me go to college. Let me ball out.
Yeah.
Let me let me get drafted by the Celtics. And then, I mean, it couldn't have been a better fit. And his hustle and his willingness to put himself out there and just go 100% all the time, can't ask for anything more.
No, I mean, everything you said is completely true. I have nothing against Bird. It just, I didn't watch. There's some other personal reasons that we don't need to get into on this that, changed my mind about some of those teams, and not because of how good they were, just, again, personal things that, aren't really topic conversation for this podcast. So
you might have to get into those at some point, D.
Unearth
those.
Just didn't get along with my father. It was his favorite team, so I had a lot of aggression to that. So
I respect that.
That's why he won't be on my list.
I respect that. And all right, who you got for number 1 though? Who's your number 1?
I'm absolutely gonna get clowned for this, but I don't care. Dino Raja. No, I'm kidding. I think they actually shared the same number though. Rajon Rondo.
You going Rondo?
Of course I'm going Rondo. I loved him. Like, I don't know, he was just, granted, the dude couldn't hit a 15-foot jumper. Couldn't shoot. I don't care. When he, and this is going to sound awful, when he wanted to put up that FU game, he put it up. I mean, the kid had it. He just had an attitude, and, but whenever I watched him, it was just like he looked like he was in control.
Yeah.
It was something I loved to watch. I mean, I remember sitting at the Garden, the TD Garden, of course, and I was with the White brothers watching the game, and I said, man, if he does something special on this play right here, I'm going to buy his jersey right now. Dude spun to the baseline and dunked on whoever they were playing. They were playing the Thunder, I believe. Dunked on him, got up, walked right down, got the jersey right then and there. Like, loved him. I just loved it. When he was ready to go, it was hustle all the time, and I loved watching it.
No, I respect that. I don't know that he'd be my number 1. I did not know where you were going with number 1. But I mean, again, Rondo balled out. I mean, he's one of those, I think, for a lot of Celtics folks will probably love-hate just because of what you said. Like, when he wanted to go, he could go. The problem is there was just a lot of times where he wasn't going,
Yep. I agree.
And especially when those veterans weren't around as much anymore, it didn't feel like he was willing to put in that effort. So, but he was a baller. And, like, the guy could play D. He could pass the ball. He could run a team. And he had that little bit of burst of energy that really made those veterans kind of come along with him at times.
Yep, I agree.
And for me, the number 1 is the guy you already talked about, Paul Pierce.
Yeah.
Truth, Paul Piggins, the real deal. I don't know. I just love that guy. I just love how casual his game is, how, like, unfettered he is, how he always seems to just be focused, but he never seems to be out of control. Like
well, I love how you explained it, because you called it casual. I said it looked like he was stuck in mud. I mean,
well, but like that's the thing. He knew exactly what he was doing all the time. And in one of the things that makes an unbelievable basketball player, Hall of Fame basketball player, is that they don't just go out there and play the game. They're smart. They see the game. They're five, 6 moves ahead of everyone else. And he was the kind of guy that you would look at and be like, all right, he doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing. But like you said, all of a sudden he'd end up at the elbow and he'd be making he'd be making that jumper, or he'd do just enough to get enough space, enough separation so he could get his jumper off. When he needed to get to the rack, he could get to the rack. And on the other end, he wasn't known for his defense, but he could play some D. And on top of that, late in his career, he was the one drawing the LeBron assignment. He was the guy that was having to play those guys. He was that 6'6", 6'8" guy that needed to, match up with those guys, those athletic guys. So he was willing to do whatever was necessary. And you could always tell, like, toward the end of his career, he was willing to do whatever it took to win a championship. Like, he knew he'd been in Boston his whole career. He knew that these people loved him even after getting stabbed, and he was willing to put it all out there. So I love that guy. He'll always be number one. I mean, maybe Tatum and Brown can move up on the list, but, like, Paul Pierce is always going to be at the top.
No doubt.
No doubt.
Bleed green, right?
No doubt. So now that you guys have heard us give our top personal 5 favorite Celtics of all times, what do you guys think? Let us know. Hit us up at Beers Up Sports Talk. Hit me up at C Boskett right there. Let me know what you got. Debo, anything else you got for us tonight?
No, I think we can clean it right out. Check out the YouTube channel, Beers Up Sports Talk. Soon we're going to have not just these longer podcasts, but maybe we'll have some shorter videos, just each of us on our own, giving our thoughts on different things.
Maybe even get crazy and start TikToking or something, man. I don't know.
I mean, I downloaded it, but I haven't even opened it yet because I'm scared.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Look for it, folks. We'll be here.
All right.
All right, y'all.
Beers up.
Good night.